at the grassroots.
Go Santa Barbara! You are what democracy looks like.
Who've been doing the work at the grassroots.
Go Santa Barbara! You are what democracy.
Doing the work at the grassroots.
Go Santa Barbara! You are what democracy looks like, and you are what the future looks like. I want to give a big thank you to start off with to Ben Mansky for having gotten this whole Green Party thing going, because he has been, I can just take this out. Ben has been at the bottom, at the source, at the foundation of the Green Party since the very beginning, and he was one of the first people that I ever met, the first time that I was recruited to run for office as a Green. I met Ben Mansky shortly thereafter, and I realized, wow, this is really where the inspiration is happening. Can we please give a big round of applause to Ben Mansky? And I can't wait until he hurries up and finishes his PhD so we can get him back here into the fray full time. And let me just echo what Ben said, giving a big thank you to all of you here in Santa Barbara for your incredible vision and your foresight and your leadership. And when we drove in last night, on that beautiful clear night, with the moon shining over the water, and we saw the oil platforms, the drilling platforms out on the sea, it just felt like they do not belong on this landscape. And thanks to your leadership, we have a movement that began decades ago, thanks to your courage and your vision. This is really the way forward. We see that same vision reflected at the Standing Rock Sioux Nation, where people are really leading the way forward by standing up and by standing together. Because there have been over 200 indigenous nations that have come together, overcoming their historic divides, overcoming the resistance against them, overcoming their traditional divisions. They've come together as one people and one family on one planet. And they have also created an incredibly welcoming movement for all of us, and I think really illustrating how we work together as one humanity on one planet, together in Mother Earth, working to preserve that Mother Earth together. And they were fighting not only to preserve, and they still are fighting, not only for their human rights, but for all of our human rights. Not just for their right to protest as the vicious attack dogs were unleashed on them and the pepper spray sprayed on them, simply for exercising their First Amendment rights. So they're standing up for democracy for all of us. They're not just standing up for their water supply, but for the Missouri River that feeds 17 million people and provides our agriculture with the water that it needs. And they are standing up for the climate we all depend on. So we say we must stop the Dakota Access Pipeline, not one more pipeline. Sheriff's Department issued their arrest warrant for me, for other, and particular, the courageous indigenous leaders who are being arrested by the dozens. They issued an arrest warrant for Amy Goodman for doing her job. They should have issued those arrest warrants not to us, but to the CEOs of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Those are the vandals. They accuse us of vandalism for basically the indigenous leaders were locking down on these pieces of equipment, which were not construction equipment, that was destruction equipment they were locking down on. So we're not the vandals here. It's the Dakota Access Pipeline Company, which is vandalizing indigenous lands, vandalizing our water supply, and vandalizing our climate. And we say no more, no how, not under our watch. In a nutshell, what's happening at the Standing Rock Sioux Nation is a microcosm of what we face right now. And in this election, we're not just looking at what kind of a world we will be, but whether we will have a world or not going forward. So when people say to me, aren't you afraid of Donald Trump? I say, no, I'm actually afraid of climate change. And in fact, Hillary Clinton is not the solution on climate change. It's true, she says she believes in climate change, and Donald Trump says he does not. However, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And Donald Trump is a booster for coal, but we all know that coal has become obsolete. Coal is no longer economically viable. But Hillary is a big booster for fracking. The Democratic Party wouldn't even pretend to oppose fracking. It would not adopt an anti-fracking plank in its purely voluntary, non-binding platform. So it won't get anywhere near to a position that would stop fracking. Her Director of Transition, Ken Salazar, is in fact a big booster of fracking, as well as a big booster of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So there's no question that under Hillary Clinton, the climate is in serious jeopardy. In fact, under Barack Obama, his policy, which was basically all of the above, it was a disaster for the climate. It was actually worse than drill, baby, drill under George Bush. Yes, we did get more renewable energy. That's wonderful. But the climate actually doesn't care about renewable energy. The climate reads carbon dioxide and it reads methane and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And that's what the policies of Barack Obama and 2 Democratic houses of Congress, that's what they put into place. That is the incredible escalation of fossil fuel emissions. Even while they signed the Paris Accords, or actually while they were drafting the Paris Accords, giving themselves great praise and pats on the back for this historic accord, and in some ways it indeed is historic. It at least takes steps in the right direction, but it won't get us there. It's purely voluntary, and its goals do not keep climate under control in the least. They allow us to go to catastrophic climate change. Even while they were congratulating themselves on that agreement, you had Barack Obama signing the repeal of the fossil fuel export ban, essentially ensuring that we would continue to escalate extraction and fossil fuel emissions around the globe for the duration. I don't know if anybody tuned in to the news revelations of the last 24 hours, but if you ever had any doubts about Hillary Clinton's campaign, you can know that those doubts have been absolutely confirmed. Because what she did say on record, I should say off the record, but revealed in emails and in transcripts, in fact, those infamous transcripts, some of them at least, finally were leaked. And what she did say behind closed doors is that when there are controversial issues out there, you have to take a public position and then you have to take a private position, which means we can trust absolutely nothing that Hillary Clinton says. It's what she does, which is the final record here. So what she has done, in short, she has been the best friend to Wall Street, to the war profiteers, and to the Walmart economy that is the ultimate example of abusing and shortchanging your workers, many of whom are women. So enough of this candidate for women who has not done well by women, including repealing, for example, aid to families with dependent children, supporting her husband's repeal of that law, as well as supporting the crime bill of the 1990s, which opened the floodgates to mass incarceration, particularly for African Americans, passed the first anti-immigrant piece of legislation, which began the deportations, began the militarization of the border. So, in short, it's not what they say, it's what they do. I know I don't need to convince you not to support Donald Trump, but just for the record, the revelations of the last 24 hours confirmed not only is he a hate monger and a fear monger who abuses his workers and who offshores his jobs, he's also the star of soft porn and the scumbag against women that we expected. So I don't think we need any more reason. It's no surprise that his campaign is falling in the polls and that the Republican Party is coming apart at the seams. So the lunatic fringe is going over the edge with Donald Trump as this gap in the polls begins to really widen.
Okay, bye-bye.
And in the meantime, bye-bye. In the meantime, we have the spokespeople and the leadership of the Republican Party merging with the Democrats. This is a realignment election. We now have one happy Demo-Republican Party.
That's right.
Many of us have seen this coming.
Yep.
That's why we have been here building the Green Party. Can you just raise your hand if you've been a part of the Green Party development? Thank you all. Can we please give them a big thank you for building this vehicle whose time has come? And can we give a big thank you to all the burners who gave this movement such a big boost at this critical time in history. And now we are burning green together, and we will not be stopped. So just a couple quick things, because the political establishment wants us to believe that we are powerless and that the problems are way too complicated, we couldn't possibly solve them. But in fact, you know, in this election, it's not just about what kind of a world we will have, but whether we will have a world or not going forward. And if you tuned in to the real debate at Hofstra, and by the way, you can tune in to the real debate tomorrow in St. Louis, because Amy Goodman will be interjecting my answers to the question with each question after Hillary and Donald give their non-answers to the question, mostly talking about really critical things like which one is the more corrupt corporate crook, or when was Barack Obama really born? You know, this is what our debate has become, and it's no surprise because this fake commission on presidential debates, which essentially controls the debates by the Democratic and Republican parties in order to silence political opposition. That's not democracy, that is two-party tyranny, and we reject their false threshold set in order to keep political opposition from being heard. But the American people, for the first time, have really stood up in incredible numbers to say they are not drinking this Kool-Aid. In fact, a majority of millennials are now saying that they are seriously considering voting third party. And as Gary Johnson's solution to climate change, which is just let it happen because the sun one day will explode and encompass the earth anyhow. And his answers on foreign policy, which are, what is Aleppo? As the word gets out, it's clear that there is really one independent third party, because in fact the Libertarian Party had its origins in the agenda of the Koch brothers, one of whom was one of their original candidates for vice president. So these millennials who are, you know, they've had it up to the chin. They are not going to be good little boys and girls and do what the political establishment is telling them. In fact, we agree. The biggest wasted vote is a vote that is thrown away voting for the political parties that have thrown us under the bus. The best use of our votes is as an investment in the future and as a real declaration of the power that we actually do have. In the words of Frederick Douglass, power concedes nothing without a demand. It never has and it never will. We need to bring that political demand into the political marketplace so that we can push forward this agenda for peace, for justice, and for democracy. And we can do that knowing, and they don't want you to know this, but in fact, we not only have the solutions, we actually have the numbers that it takes to turn this election on its head right now, this time around. That is, there are 43 million young people and not so young people, not just millennials, Gen Xers and above, who are stuck, and boomers even, who are stuck in predatory student loan debt. It's something that you get into, but you really don't get out of, not in this economy which recovered for who? The 5%. You know, most people are struggling. They're not recovering. The jobs that came back are low-wage, part-time, temporary jobs. That doesn't enable you to pay back that student loan debt. So here's the good news. 43 million people in debt have only one place to put their votes. There's only one candidate who will cancel that student debt, who will bail out the students like we bailed out Wall Street, the crooks who crashed the economy. It's time to bail out the victims of Wall Street. So that's 43 million, and here's the well-kept secret. That is enough to win a three-way presidential race. So we do have the power. Just by getting the word out, we in fact can get the numbers to come out and take over this election and win it. Not only to cancel student debts, but to make public higher education free, as it should be. It pays for itself many times over. For every dollar we put in, we get back $7 in return. There is no excuse not to be doing this right now. We also need an emergency jobs program that solves the emergency of climate change. We can do this. We need a Green New Deal right now. Create 20 million good wage jobs, living wage jobs, in clean renewable energy, in healthy, sustainable agriculture, and in public transportation, as well as in restoring our ecosystem, which are critical infrastructure if we are to survive. And in doing this, we not only revive the economy, we turn the tide on climate change, and we make the friggin' wars for oil obsolete. the other thing about this very quickly is that we get so much healthier. When we phase out fossil fuels, 200,000 people die every year. Few people know that from the impact of fossil fuels on our health. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of sickness from fossil fuels. So by rapidly phasing out fossil fuels, we save so much money on health expenditures that those dollars alone are enough to pay the costs of the green energy transition. So this is a win-win-win, and we cannot afford not to do it.
Let's do it!
And just a couple other quick mentions. We can have health care as a human right for everyone through a Medicare for all system. It doesn't cost us anymore. We just put our dollars into health care, not into bureaucracy, red tape, and health profiteering by the insurance and pharmaceutical companies. We call for a welcoming path to citizenship for the immigrants who have always been at the core of our economies and our communities. And we say to solve this crisis of immigration, the most important thing we can do is let's stop causing it in the first place. Through NAFTA, through the war on drugs. And we say to Donald Trump, by the way, we don't need your friggin' wall, we just need to stop invading other countries. And finally, we need to put an end to the abuse of Black Lives Matter and ensure not one more death at the hands of abusive police. And we must insist that every community have a civilian review board as well as independent investigators so that communities hold their police accountable instead of police being in charge of their communities. And the last word on these catastrophic wars, few people know out there in the American public that these wars are costing us more than half of our discretionary budget and are costing almost half of your income tax dollars. But what do they give us? Failed states, mass refugee migrations, and worse terrorist threats. The only reason they can get away with this is because they silence the real discussion. This is why they are working so hard overtime to keep us out of the debate. But they ain't gonna do it. No, they're not. We are going to be heard because the American people now more than ever say that we will not go silently into this dark night. We will not accept this propaganda that tells us we have to vote our fears rather than our hopes. And Allison, could you just bring me a quick drink here? I am feeling that California drought right now. And we have to be sure we are all going to have enough to drink, or we'll all be feeling boozy like I am at the moment here. So let me just say, this is the time for us to stand up and reject that lesser evil. Because in fact, the politics of fear delivered what? Everything we were afraid of. And give me just a moment to rehydrate. That politics of fear delivers everything we were afraid of. All the reasons we were told to vote for the lesser evil, because we didn't want the expanding wars, we didn't want the meltdown of the climate, we didn't want the attack on immigrants and the offshoring of our jobs. That's exactly what we've gotten by allowing ourselves to be silenced and to allow a lesser evil president and party to speak for us. Democracy is not who do we hate the most and who are we most afraid of. Democracy needs a moral compass. It needs our vision. It needs our values. The fear campaign is going hard overtime right now because they cannot earn your vote. So they have to intimidate you and extort your vote. And we're saying we've had enough of that.
We've had enough!
Yeah!
to say no to this propaganda campaign, knowing in fact that we have the numbers. We have 43 million young people and not so young people trapped in student loan debt. We do have the power to win this the minute we stand up like the indigenous people at Standing Rock. The minute we stand up with the courage of our convictions, we do have the power to create an America and a world that works for all of us. We say no to the lesser evil. We say yes to the greater good. We are going to fight for the greater good like our lives depend on it, because in fact they do. Thank you so much.
There's one thing I believe in. It is the power of the people. It's the power of you and me, of everyone here. When we unite and fight together, we can achieve the transformative change in society that we need and that we deserve, and launch this into the future for true peace and justice everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we know that we are working against some incredibly powerful forces, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we know two things. One, the revolution is not going to be televised by the usual suspects. So we are televising it ourselves. Look at all these people streaming live on Facebook and all of these cameras. We are going to share the story. Thank you. And the second thing. To be funded by the big oil companies. They don't want us shutting them down, turning to 100% clean and renewable, but we do, and we're going to make it happen, because we're going to unite together, we're going to fight together, and we're going to fund this movement so we can take this movement and get it become an organized, sustainable power for change to November 8th and beyond Election Day. That depends on us. So I'm going to ask you, who here has a smartphone? Lots of hands. Please go to Jill2016.com. You're going to see two critical green buttons. The first one says volunteer. Please volunteer. Join the movement. We are the ones who are going to share this. We are the ones, you are the ones who are going to get out there in the streets in our local community. It happens right here. The second button is donate. Please consider making a donation, because the movement that we have, we need to continually become more and more organized, and we need your financial support to do that, to become sustainable into the future, right? So please consider making a donation, whether that's the maximum amount of $2,700 or $27, like for Bernie Sanders. We like to say 29 for Stein. So please consider making a financial contribution. And then before I introduce CORE, I want to just tell you a little logistics of our day. Jill, as I believe she mentioned, Democracy Now! Has invited all of the candidates to stream live for the debates. She's the only one who accepted. So we're headed to St. Louis, and we have a commercial flight to catch. So we're going to take a group selfie, and then I need your help, because the airline's not going to wait for us, right? So we'll take a group selfie so we can all get together here, and then you are in for an amazing performance with Core Element. I am so excited that he is here to share with you today. So if Jill could come over here and everyone gather towards the center, we'll do a quick photo, and then we have a flight to catch.
We need to be actively strategizing and building this strong movement for social, economic, and political change that lives beyond the election polls. The kind of movement that Jill Stein and Bernie Sanders are reminding us it's in our hands. So this November, all of us in California, it is our duty to vote for the movement, and that vote is a vote for Jill Stein. We're going to be talking for the rest of the day about ways in which the local Green Party in Santa Barbara County and amazing campaigns and movements that have been building here can keep working post-November, and I think it's really important that we use this moment to come together and strategize. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Kathy, and she's going to talk about, invite people up to do community announcements.
Okay. Next up what we're going to do is open it up to the community to talk about different activist issues that we're working on. And I wanted to point particular attention on a group of students here in Santa Barbara that are fighting for ethnic studies now. They're fighting with the, well, I shouldn't say fighting, but they're trying to negotiate to have ethnic studies introduced into the Santa Barbara Unified School District's curriculum as a part of the total curriculum of the school district. This is an uphill battle, believe it or not. You would think that with all the legislation and all the recognition of the importance of ethnic studies right now, that there'd be more support here in Santa Barbara, but the students are still struggling, and I'm going to pass it off to them to talk about how they're campaigning to reform the education curriculum here in Santa Barbara Unified School District. So welcome, Cosmolly.